Alright, we've got a 94 Subaru Impreza, all-wheel drive, yay. Problem is, lower ball joint. So, that's where it's wiggling. Taking the tire off. This one was difficult, and as you see, the threads are basically chewed away. So we're going to take care of both today. Alright, we've got 17 millimeter on the top and on the bottom that you have to take off. Don't go for this type of thing because you got to get the whole bracket off. And then this will just fall off, and if it doesn't, it's rusted together. A few good wraps shake off the rust and it'll fall off. But so let's see, that was 17 millimeter. Then for the lower ball joint, there's this, what is this? This is a 9/16. This just goes through a channel and a groove. Pulled the cutter key out of there, out of the bottom down here, and this is 3/4, the same size as your lug nut. So as you see where that side bolt goes through, there's a groove there, and then the bottom. Pick these up at O'Reilly. Love O'Reilly because they've got that loan tool program. As you see, this was $22.99 and $2.29 for this. So I'll just take those bolts off and catch up me. Now if you have a nut that just doesn't want to budge and you don't have a pneumatic, you just put a jack on the end of the wrench and it'll either jack up the car or the nut will move. This time the nut moves. And of course, to get this off, this socket is running up against this bolt here, so I got to get this to let loose. So I just use a nice C-clamp to compress the piston on the brakes here, and it all falls off. Now I've got this rope to tie so you don't have it hanging by the brake line unless you want to replace that brake line in the near future. While I'm here, you look at the brake shoes and there's plenty of shoe there. Otherwise, the only thing you'd have to do now to change the brake shoes is, you know, push the brake shoe out. Slide it out, put the new ones in. Of course, you'd have to compress the cylinder all the way to put it on with the brand new shoes, but I just did it a little bit, enough to make it so I can slide this off. That way that'll hold the socket for me. I don't have to worry about losing that until I slap this puppy back on. So I'll tie this one up there, and then I'll take a hammer and just pound the stud in. Well, this rotor is really rusted on there very tight. And if you look around the back, there's a gap here. So I just used my little hammer and pounded it right out to get it completely through. Put this on the end and tapped on it for the last little bit. Now you'd have to make sure, because that gap's in the back, that wherever you're taking the stud out, you keep that somewhere near the back. The further back, the easier it'll be to get a hold of on the other side. Then I'll just put a little grease on these splines that catch in the inside, back behind this rotor. Is to get it through enough. You can just put the nut on it and pull it in just using this, but then you've got to keep it from turning until it meets up with all the splines, and grease this area so it'll turn freely without destroying the nut. And if you have a spare nut, use that to pull it in, and then use the one you want to use, because you could damage that nut so it doesn't meet with the rim of the tire as easily. Well, that's out. The 3/4 didn't want to move, so I broke out the big boys to give myself some slack. 14mm on the front, and this channel lock on the back. 12mm to take the screw out that goes right through here. That way I give some slack to pry away with my pickle fork, and if I have to, 2x4 under there. And well, don't want to push on that boot. Usually a pickle fork's used to go underneath there and pop it up, but I'm just letting it slide out of there first, and then this whole thing will come loose.